Hello there. We're back. That was very loud. I don't know why I said it like that, but it is what it is. So just deal with it. Anyway, we're back. This is the third episode of The Rest of Us, aka the podcast that talks about the new episodes of The Last of Us season 2. And I am back. Hello. I returned.
Welcome back, ladies.
Yay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't tell you how pissed I was that I missed the episode that I didn't want to miss. So I was a bit like, I was a bit salty once I realized it. I was like, God damn it. Of course I did. Anyway, we're back. We have our usual cast today. So let me introduce them. We have the fantastic Aun.
Hello.
Hello. We have the wonderful Nick.
Hi.
Emmy. Lily K. Hello. We are all here. What up? So we're gonna do our usual round of no spoilers. So if you haven't seen episode 3 of The Last of Us season 2, you're still okay for this part. And then I'm gonna tell you when the spoiler warning shall come on. So without spoilers, just a quick recap of your thoughts, please. We're gonna start with Nick. Just no spoilies.
In one word, boring. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I was so bored the entire episode.
Interesting.
I felt like they elongated things that didn't need to be. They focused on things that are irrelevant, and it felt like, apart from like one or two scenes, it felt like the drama and the intensity of last week's episode was just ignored this week. And I didn't like it. I'm not a fan.
Cinematography was really pretty. The acting was really good. That's it.
That's it.
I agree with Nick, though.
Okay.
Oh, so much salt coming through today.
Oh, wow. That's so weird. I think the roles have turned and the tables have tabled because I'm the one who's not salty about this one. And the two of you are. I'm like, what is
Wowzers.
happening?
We're ganging up on Lily.
What is happening? What's going on? I actually really enjoyed this episode. I think after last week's, which I wasn't here for, unfortunately. Thanks, Max. I think we definitely needed a slower pace. And that's why I was like, I was happy with the additions that they put into it. Let's not forget that this is not the video game. This is an adaptation of the video game, and of course, there's going to be changes. So I went in with an open mind to this one. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping for what they did, and that they did it, and I was like, huh, I should write this. I'm joking. I'm just joking. But yeah, I actually very much enjoyed this episode, and I appreciated this episode, especially after last week's. I have to add that because it only makes sense in that regard. So yeah, I think that's all we can say without spoilers. So we're just gonna get into spoilers now, and we're gonna break down the episode by characters to make our life easier and to be more straightforward. So yes, if you haven't seen episode 3 of The Last of Us season 2, then this is your sign to go and watch it, and then come back and watch us. That's it. That's the plan. And we're gonna get into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now we said our thoughts without spoilers. So I want you both to highlight just one thing that you really didn't appreciate in this episode. I'm really interested. Just one. That's the rule. Just one.
I can talk about more later, though, right?
Yes, you can talk about more later, but now just highlight one that really, really bugs you about it.
Nick, you're gonna have to go first. I need to narrow it down to which I need to talk about first.
Okay, Nick, just one.
I think for me, what I didn't like the most, or if I just have to pick one thing right now, I didn't like how it kind of felt like everything intense that happened last week was just like, okay, that happened last week. Like we don't have to talk about it, or like they talked about it, but it's like we don't have to deal with it anymore. I think that was that. It kind of takes the whole thing. I think we were talking about this earlier on our Discord chat. It was talking about, and I agree with it so much. It was like, oh yeah, Joel died last week, and the horde broke in, and we all hate the WLF, and we're left with a searing rage. And then this week, it's like, oh okay, no, let's chill, let's really just sit down and talk about this and whatever. Ellie in the game is like, fuck all of you, I'm leaving now. Like, where's that? Like, it just doesn't feel like she's that pissed off. I don't know. It's
Hmm.
just maybe just me.
Mm, okay.
I I think I'm gonna tag on to that because
Okay.
I'm gonna lean into that with also Tommy. I
Hmm.
I think that they are butchering his character, and I don't like what they're doing. Like,
Interesting.
I'm sure we'll still potentially get, Tommy, out in Seattle. Maybe he left an hour or two before, Ellie and Dina,
Mm-hmm.
but the whole let's bring it to the council, let's have a vote was such bullshit that I don't think we needed. Like, yeah, it was nice to be able to get, sadness and recovery from everybody, but going into like we lost just like what Nick said, we kind of lost that momentum. Now we're bringing
Hmm.
it to like now we're gonna just have a nice little chat about it with the city council. I hated it. I hated it. And I think with
Hmm.
Tommy even having that be a suggestion and it being like a leader in the community is very much just a show version of Tommy. Tommy in the video games is not like that. Yeah, he cares about the community, but he's not a leader in the community in the games that we
Hmm.
explicitly see. He convinces Ellie not to leave and to stay for the sake of the community, so then he can leave first. None of that is here. None of that.
Yeah, but they already changed, in episode 2 what happened. So I guess it was
Oh
kind of
yeah.
expected at
Hmm.
the end of the day. Um, okay,
I
okay.
have more thoughts on Tommy and like motivations and stuff. We'll get into that later when we talk about him.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna do that. So what we're gonna do now, for all of you watching or just listening, is that we're gonna talk about the episode by characters. So we're gonna start with our main character, Ellie.
Hmm.
So I want to hear your thoughts on Ellie's journey in this episode, and what did you think? Did they do a good job, or was it like a bit lackluster? I guess that's gonna be the both of you. So I'm gonna let you talk first. Let's get the negative out of the way, and then I can swoop
Ooh.
in with the
And then you can
positive.
swoop. Oh, okay.
Yes,
So you know
yes.
what we should do? We'll go me first negative, you positive, and then negative again. I'm just kidding. We won't do that.
Okay.
You're in charge.
Yes.
Um, okay. I have no issues with Bella Ramsey's portrayal of Ellie. I
Yes.
don't. I think she's perfect. I
Mm,
think the issue is the writing and the pacing. I
okay.
think
Hmm.
having this 3 month jump and suddenly it's spring, rebirth, beauty, good weather, um, was awful. And so Ellie's just kind of walking around in like this really nice weather, and there's no sense of urgency anymore with her. Um, but one of the biggest it's also one of the positives actually is waking up horrified in the hospital is setting the precedence for the PSTD that's going to go down the line that she's going to continue to experience. I thought that was good to have.
Hmm.
I think having um that 3 month jump of recovery took me out of it, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with Bella. I think they're perfect. Um, but it also just didn't the writing didn't feel like Ellie's character that we knew in the games, and I know I'm gonna talk sometimes from my gamer perspective and then others from a show perspective. This right now is my game or perspective. Um Ellie is supposed to be angry and rage driven and wanting to go out and seek this revenge path journey. I did not feel that in this episode at all. It felt very much more like somber sadness. I miss him. There were tiny little hints of rage, like after talking with the therapist, the dropping of the phase, the punching bag, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had issues with that. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
I'll at least leave it there for now, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Nick, what would you like to add to that?
Well, I didn't like it either for very similar reasons. I'd say that I absolutely loved the start and the end of Ellie in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
When she wakes up in the hospital bed and is screaming, that is traumatic. She has the flashback of seeing Abby stabbing Joel in the neck, and that was amazing. And she screams, and it's exactly like you say. It kind of is hinting at her PTSD that she gets later in the game. So that's a nice way to tie that in because we don't really get to see any PTSD with Ellie in the game until it becomes relevant to the story. So it's nice that they're kind of hinting at that, and I love that because you can see it was a traumatic thing that she'd just been through. So I love that opening scene. I was like, hell yeah, I'm really excited for this because they just put her to sleep with something, and I was like, oh, I can't wait until she wakes up. Like this is gonna be gnarly because she's gonna be pissed off, she's gonna be angry, and then she's like, oh, woe is me, Joel is dead, and I hate that so much. And what I thought about during this episode was like, I don't like what they're doing with Ellie in the same way I didn't like what they were doing with Joel in the first season because they made Joel this sensitive, accessible human being. Whereas what's kind of beautiful about part two is that Ellie goes through the same kind of journey that Joel does. She becomes cold and hardened, and Dina's very much there to keep her on the right track and keep her, open and emotional. But she's got to be going toward that side kind of thing. And it just doesn't feel like she's angry. It feels like she's just sad. And the entire driving
Mhm.
force of her character in the game and in this story is revenge and is anger. And like I love the lines like from the trailers. We were talking about this last week where she says, I want to kill them all. Like I just that is great. And to kind of have her like the scene where she's giving the speech, like we were talking about this earlier, and obviously she was lying about that. She was trying to just convince people to let them go. And that just felt like she was more trying to manipulate people rather than just being like, fuck it. Because in the game, she doesn't even try to get people to join her. She just says, Dina, let's go. Or I think Dina's just like, cool, I'll come with you. But like, that's it. And then I have a moment in Seattle where Ellie says, or like, I think Dina says, that's a lot of them, or something like that. And Ellie says, like, well, there's about to be less of them. And she's like, no, I was just trying to sound like a badass. I'm like, why are you making her seem like she's cute and adorable? She's supposed to seem
Yeah.
like a vengeful, like, I will bite you and rip your heart out, kind of, like she's supposed to seem like she's angry. And she just doesn't feel it. I did like parts of them in Seattle though. I feel like you could kind of feel the grieving because in the
Mhm.
game that's where the kind of anger kind of dissipates a little bit and Ellie's just kind of grieving and mourning the loss of Joel and it's the quieter moments in the game. So I did kind of like that. Absolutely freaking loved when I got to Seattle and you get that big panoramic shot. It just I was like, dude, we're playing the video game right now. This is awesome. So I liked where she was at the end. I need to see more of a focus on that anger and we didn't see it. We didn't need to see it like a lashing out or her
Mhm.
flying off the handle or anything like that. But we needed to see something bubbling in underneath her, and so that we can be like, oh shit, I can't wait until that comes out because that comes out later in the game, and that's what I'm excited for. So she just doesn't seem that upset, doesn't seem that angry, or
Bef-
she just
oh,
seems
sorry.
sad. That's it.
Before we go to Lily real quick, so I had written so many notes that I had to like scroll a bit farther back to something that I had found. Um, was they've cut back on female rage, brutality, and independence. And that hit so hard for me. I don't feel the rage. I don't feel the independence of fuck everybody. I'm just going up until the end where it was just kind of like, well, I guess we'll go. Okay,
Oh, you
Lily.
guys. You guys.
And
Oh
said, so
God.
can I say one more thing? Because I don't think we're not going to be talking about Seth as a main character, right?
Oh my gosh. I have so much to say about that.
Fuck Seth, like who the hell is this guy? He literally is no one in the game, and now all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, Ellie, I'm gonna help,"
He
like this
doesn't deserve
fucking
a redemption
hero.
arc. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna
Ugh,
have to hold off because
ugh.
I'll be able to talk about it later.
I hate it. I hate it. Okay,
I'm gonna mute
Okay,
myself so I don't cut you off.
let's calm down. Let's calm down.
we're
Um,
I
angry.
haven't even
We're angry.
started. Okay, muting myself again.
We are
okay.
angrier than Ellie is in this episode.
and she shouldn't be. I think this is the absolute perfect introduction to what's to come, because as you said it, Nick, as well, these are Ellie and Joel, but they are also Ellie and Joel from a TV series, which translates a very good game, and it's not going to be the same. Which was I had a hard time accepting that at the during the first season, but I think given how they handle like injuries and whatnot in the show, which is more realistic than it would be in the game. Where let's be fair, Ellie got kicked really, really hard and she got beaten up really hard. So I understood that 3 month time jump because recovering from that, uh, yeah, it's not going to be a quick one. They established that in the first season, so I'm like, I'm not mad about that. And just because she's more sad than angry, that is just pushing down the anger. That sadness is just a mask. It is nothing more. And what they're doing, and I think they're going to do it brilliantly, especially with someone like Bella Ramsey being in the role, is this anger is going to build up, and it's going to be a built up anger, and I think now I can make the tiny bit of prediction that, as I mentioned, it is in the trailer that she's going to meet Nora in the hospital, and we're going to get that scene. I think that's probably going to be an ending arc for season two, because that's where we're gonna get the full on rage of Ellie. And how she truly feels and what she's trying to hide and push down in order to be able to function, basically, because it is PTSD. She just fucking watched her best friend, her mentor, her dad figure die right in front of her. And PTSD doesn't work in a way where you just constantly have this. It's just it's coming out nice and slow. And I think we're gonna get a more angrier and angrier Ellie as we move forward with the story. And I think if they do it right, and if they do it as it is in my head, where we're gonna get by the end of the season, we're gonna get a really really angry Ellie. This is gonna be beautifully done. And I think a TV series like this, where they can just think about us gamers who experience this already, this story, but they have to think about those who are only watching this and that's it. And they're never gonna play the game, let's be honest. And even if they do, they're gonna do it after watching this show. I think this is a perfect build up to what's about to come. Because if you think about it, when you're in the game, it has to be there. It has to be a constant because they are portraying your emotions as well into the game, and obviously you're going on a journey where you're gonna avenge the man who was your favorite in the first game. But here it needs a bit of setup. It needs a bit of setup, and I think they're doing something very cool with Ellie here. I hope. I will put it like this: that I really hope that they are moving forward to the direction that I think that they are moving forward, because this is how the Nora scene, which is the most brutal scene for Ellie in the game as well, because that's where she loses it completely. I think that's how it's gonna hit real hard. Like, because all you're gonna see is that there's this girl. She's very sad now. She doesn't know how to react. She doesn't know if she should show her anger, which was brilliantly done with the whole scene of her speech, because she's clearly lying. Obviously, she's lying, but she's trying so hard to control herself and not to say anything else and just cut herself off. I think these little things in there are definitely like leading to something even better, I would say, or even more cathartic uh, um, in a TV series point of view. Because it's one thing that it works in the game, that we get into rage mode immediately, and that's how we experience Ellie in there. It's a very different medium, the two still. So yes, I'm patiently waiting, because I think this can turn out very very good if they do it properly, and I think they set the basis for it very well.
From a non-gamer perspective, because I've been doing a lot of research and reading comments and posts, non-gamers fully agree. because they don't know, the characters that we do from the game.
Mm,
Um, they completely agree that it was also a really nice change of pace from a really intense episode and then having this kind of be a fuller episode, kind of understanding the grief a little bit more and moving forward. So people who are just watchers of the show very much agree and absolutely love the episode. And I
hmm
think that it is a good perspective to have. There's a difference between, my gamer rage and, people who just casually watch the show. Um, uh, just because I don't agree doesn't mean like, you're not right either. And I will say that as I continue to potentially argue. Um,
Go on.
And I actually really am having a fun time with the change of Lily from season one to season two, watching you switch like perspectives and understandings. I think that is wonderful character growth, and I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very surprised myself. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that I'm gonna be very salty with this season as well, but I genuinely enjoy this a lot more than I did season one. I have to
That's
say,
good.
I
And
genuinely
yeah,
do.
and I have been enjoying the season. It's just for some reason this one just didn't sit well with me, but
Look,
yeah,
that's completely fair,
good.
and it's not that I don't understand what the two of you are saying
Oh yeah,
because I can
you
definitely
totally do.
understand from your point of view as well. But yeah, I think. Yeah, I think if they're going where I think they're gonna go, this is gonna hit very hard.
Hmm.
And hate to say it, but it's still true. First and foremost, they have to think about the people who are seeing it for the first time,
Hmm.
and
It's true.
they needed
which
to
is
add new things for us as well. And I think that's why some of the scenes are actually very priceless here.
which is true, and I mean, I don't think that you're wrong
Mm.
to say that they have to consider the TV audience, but even the TV audience needs to kind of see why someone's doing something as drastic as this. I mean, she's traveling by herself or with just a friend to go all the way to the top of the country to hunt down someone that murdered her father figure. There's
Okay,
got to be an anger there somewhere.
Ooh.
but listen,
No
then
one,
they
no
should
one
then.
says no one. But let me just say this. No one says, "Oh, I'm really sad. I'm gonna go kill that person for what they did." No, you say, "I'm really angry. I'm gonna go do something." Anger is a driving force. Sadness is a stabilizing thing to make you sort of sit down. I feel like we just needed to see some anger in Ellie in this episode. She just didn't seem angry at all. And yes, it like you say, it could be really cool if they build that anger as the season goes. But what are they gonna build? Because there is no anger there right now.
There is
She doesn't
that, but
seem
that's
angry.
no, but that's the thing. There is anger in that little
Wait, what? So
moments where
what in this episode showed you that there was anger? That's kind
the
of what I
way
Other
meant.
than the
she
punching bag.
no, not just the punching bag. It's the tiny things. The way she has to hold herself back not to say anything more when they make the votes. Like you can see, it's a tiny moment, and it really is great acting from Bella. Where you can just see the twitch of like I really want to say something, but I'm holding back. And I think Seth, because let's talk about Seth for a moment here. I think him speaking up and saying what Ellie is probably thinking, let's be fair, because I bet my ass on it that Ellie is thinking the same thing, is a very important and nice contrast there. And I think it was very good for them to include it because Seth is the voice that Ellie is holding back in this episode. Like he is the one, and I don't think this has anything to do with his redemption or anything like that.
Doesn't
I
deserve one anyways.
I think it's just let's give Ellie the voice that she can't let out now because she's not there yet. And to do an argument with you, Nick, uh, people didn't see shit about Abby because then based on that logic we should have seen at least 3 episodes where she's like I'm so angry 5 years passed but I am finally here.
Shut up.
And let's be fair, I think Dina's decision, and that's the only reason why I can forgive them a little bit for changing Tommy to Dina in the previous episode, to not tell Ellie immediately what she remembers is a very fair decision.
That I can agree with. Yeah, for sure.
It's a
Yeah.
very, very fair decision. And I that's why I think that argument is not very strong, because then we should have seen more about Abby. The only thing we see about Abby at the beginning of episode 1 is that I'm angry. He has to slow down. Uh, that's
But
it.
that's what works for Abby's character because now we I have those questions of like we want to know why. We want to know
But
what because
still,
that's
5 years
exactly what
passed.
happens in the game.
5 years passed. You don't see her being angry, and the big anger comes out when they are face to face.
But that's going to be explained later. That's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah,
that
but
we
they are
need to
now.
understand why that happened. We saw the anger in Abby when she killed Joel, and now
Are you
we're
gonna
gonna learn more about it later in the season. But we don't have any anger from Ellie now, so she doesn't have near the same kind of
because
emotion or the
because
same
they are
kind of
building it
drive.
up. They are building it up.
Okay, we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, I won't push on that subject more because I'm personally on the side of Nick, but I definitely do understand what you're saying, like for sure. And I kind of want to break up the tension, even though there's not really tension, um, with a little bit of a joke that I've been seeing about Seth. Um, Seth wasn't being a good guy. This was just his roundabout way of finally getting the gays out of town. I fucking lost it.
His
I'm
real
gonna cry from
motivation.
laughing again.
Oh God.
I thought it was
Okay.
so funny. Ugh, the
All
greatest
right.
little joke.
Little joke.
Uh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on to Tommy. All right. So Tommy, let's talk about our boy. What they would think. Let's start with Nick this time around.
So Tommy, I very much disagree with what they're doing with his character in terms of like he's not wanting to go and avenge Joel as well because that's a very very big point in the game is that he kind of he almost talks Eddie out of doing it and then he goes and does it himself. So Tommy's motivation to go and avenge his brother is one of the key sort of points in the game to say that this isn't just Ellie seeking revenge. This is kind of like it's more than just her kind of thing. And I love that. I love some of the sequences he has in Seattle. So it kind of was disappointing. That was like, why is he not going with? Why is he not fighting for this? He's on this council and he's kind of almost wanting to vote against it or say like, no, we need to stay here. I need to protect my little thing that I'm the mayor of now. But I genuinely will say I am optimistic with what they do with this character because I do think that they are making it look like he doesn't want to go. And in a couple episodes, he's going to be like, no, you know what? I have to go. And he's going to have a huge fight with Maria. And then he's going to be like, I have to do this. And then he's going to go. And obviously, there's a lot more with his character when he gets to Seattle. But I think that's what they're going to do with him, make him really look like he's not interested in avenging Joel, and then get to a point where he's like, no, fuck it, I have to. Um, and then he really does go and
I
and and tries to fight them.
I think they're gonna pull a Jesse with him. Right? We're not even gonna see the conflict between Maria and him. He's just gonna show up in one of the Seattle episodes, and
Oh, that's
he's
true.
just gonna be the force behind them killing people as they go along the way. Or because we don't know, Tommy disappears after the talk with Gail. So we don't have more scenes with him in this episode. So we don't know where he is. He
That's a
I
good
might
point.
actually, oh, sorry.
Hmm.
he might already be on the way.
Yeah,
Which
that's a
I
good point.
actually think he is already on his way. And I think he left obviously a couple hours before
I think so
because
too.
my theory is that we're not going to hear about Tommy
For a while.
maybe until the end of this next
Yeah.
episode. And I
Or
think that
even
it's,
later.
or yeah, or even later, because I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to find Manny and then notice the way that he's been tortured. And that's when I was going to say, I think this might be Tommy. I've only ever seen Joel use this kind of torture, which she talks about in the games, is how she knows that that's Tommy as well. Um,
And it was in the series as well.
and exactly. So I think that's my hope is that how they do it is that we don't actually see him himself. We see his aftermath
Yeah.
instead.
So Tommy, I think we kind of all think the same with
Mhm.
Tommy in a way. I will also add that yeah, even with Tommy, I think the silent rage that they are doing, and that seems more like sadness at this point with both of them. Uh, I think that is in a lot of cases a lot more powerful, especially in TV and in cinema, more like in TV,
Yeah.
because first of all you need to feel out more time as well. So if someone is like constantly in this like I'm gonna kill everyone, blah, 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 it gets a bit tiring after a while, and it just the moments that should hit real hard are like okay, so yeah, sure.
Yes and no, only because of how small of, or not how small, how little of episodes we have. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about a slow burn opinion that I have later, but I think I just hope that the pace continues to build up from here, which it looks like it will, especially because
It
of the
will,
preview
yeah.
for the next episode. But I think they need to be careful about taking a slow burn too long, or else people will kind of get bored with it. And that's where I'm going to kind of leave a little open-ended because I have a very specific reason why I'm bringing that up for a character later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just hope that, we have 4 episodes left of this season. Let's get going.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. I think that's about it about Tommy, I would
Yep.
Yeah.
say. So I will change up my list a little bit because I think now it's time to also mention Gail. Who I just have to say that she's still the greatest fucking character that they added into this. Like I really enjoy Gail. I think she is, especially because it's Catherine O'Hare. She's fucking great. She's fucking great. Like, what are we even talking about? I think her facial expressions, the way she takes everything in, and she serves as a not a mirror, but as a translator to us, the audience, of like what's going on uh, inside the character's head. So she's kind of like a narrator in a way, where she really much able to grab hold onto these big emotions that are happening here and might not be visible just yet. Just pointing it out again. Uh, and yeah, I really enjoyed the way she was just shown at a few times during those speeches, and you could see on her face that she already was like, yeah, she's bullshitting everyone. Okay, no one is gonna catch up, and it's so clear what she's trying to do. But okay, sure, let's listen to this Saint Holy. It's not about revenge speech, and then I've seen later she comes for this to Tommy. I really enjoyed all of her scenes. I think we're probably not going to see any more of Gail, if we're honest. I think we're moving away from Jackson for good this time around. But I just really like Gail. Um, as much as I didn't understand, like, why are we creating a new role? And as much as I really dislike Melanie Linsky's shoot-in character in season one, um, I think Gail makes sense in a way. I think Gail makes sense.
I think Gale definitely makes sense for especially non-gamers. So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do like that perspective first. I think it definitely makes sense for that kind of like narrator perspective. However, from my personal perspective, I'm gonna try and say this as best as I can. Um,
Go on.
if they could make the writing better and the characters better, there would be no need for Gale. I don't think there's a need for Gail, in my opinion. I do absolutely love the character. I think she's awesome and so sassy and so great. But from my perspective, I don't see the need for her because they could make the writing better and other things for other characters, like the facial expressions that she's making. Why couldn't those facial expressions have been made by Tommy, by Dina, by Jesse, those people? I don't personally see the need for her. Um, in my perspective, but I do see the usefulness of her for people who may not have seen. Well, I guess that doesn't really make sense. I think it take her out entirely and give those types of things to other characters that deserve more screen time,
Hmm.
is my opinion.
I totally agree. I mean, what I was gonna say about her was like, what was the purpose of her in this episode? because like you say, I mean, she kind of says what we're all thinking, but the thing is, we're already thinking it. She doesn't need to be there to say it. So it kind of, I don't know. I love Catherine O'Hara. I think she's great, and I think her character is really great and intriguing and interesting. I just wish they would fucking do something with her, because she was so great in the opening episode with that therapy scene with Joel, and I was like, I'm ready to see more of this, and we saw nothing of her for the rest of that episode, I believe. We didn't see anything of her last week, and then all of a sudden she's here again, and I'm like, what is like? She's kind of that drunk older like mother in the romance the like the family drama movies, right? That's like let herself go because her husband divorced her or something, and she's there's the comic relief, and I'm like, she feels like she's comic relief, and it's just, I'm like, I'm not saying that she's bad or anything. I just wish they would do something with her. But
Or just, oh,
I
sorry.
think she's there for because we were discussing last week that I think she and Eugene are going to be the focus of the bottle episode. So I think that she's literally just there
Mhm.
so that we remember that she's there and remember what she's going through to set up the bottle episode next time. But I just wish they would actually do something interesting with her character because it's just, I watched that and I was like, I kind of just want to get to the next part.
Damn, this is how it felt for you too when season one was on. I'm
Yeah.
It
like,
really did.
the fuck are you talking about? Like,
But you know
gee,
what? That's what kind of makes it fun though, because now we can switch like perspectives and understandings of how other people felt in season one and season two. And I really enjoy these types of conversations because my opinions can and do change. And it's possible that they will continue to
And
change.
you're
Like,
allowed to have
I've
different
almost
opinions.
completely
Hmm.
changed my opinion on what's like the choice with switching Tommy and Dina. Like, it's possible. And I really love these types of conversations to get so
it's not that
many
I,
different
yeah,
ideas.
yeah, it's not that I don't
Right.
like it. It's just like,
It's just wild.
the fuck's going on? I'm the salty one. What are you two doing right now? Yeah, I don't know. I just love Gail. I think her character makes a lot more, as I said, her character makes a lot more sense. That why did we need Melanie Linsky and that whole We're the Soldiers storyline in season one? It makes sense, and they definitely didn't add anything more with her when there was already a great story there with Henry and Sam. Gail is, yeah, sure. I don't think it's about writing really, because let's be fair, Craig Mazin is a pretty good
It's true. The
damn
writing really
writer.
isn't bad. I think
Yeah.
more of writing, it may have been more like, not really direction, I guess, but just like distributing things that would be Gale and giving it to a different character. Distributing is probably a better word.
Hmm.
Could be, but I also agree that the bottle episode is probably going to be the story of Gail.
I really
Uh,
hope so.
yeah.
Because I want to
So
see that
yeah,
like,
yeah,
because we
me
all
too.
know that she has, Catherine O'Hara has like an intense amount of range, and
Mm,
I'm really hoping they bring that even more so in that
oh,
episode. I need it
100%.
so bad.
100% they're gonna.
Need
Um,
it.
yes. All right. So the last 2 points is one of them is Dina. Let's talk about
Oh
Dina
boy.
real quick. On with that. Oh boy, you can go ahead.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Okay. I have good and bad. So part of me will like continue to scroll through some many notes that I have, as you can see, like the screen changing the color of my face. So Dina is one of my favorite characters, and as well as doing an amazing job playing her, especially with the way that she is attached to Ellie in a friendship way, and I will explain that a little bit more later. Um, when Ellie's packing up, getting ready to, oh, actually, first before that, I forgot there's like a whole sequence before that where she comes into the house where, Ellie's going through things, and I'm saving all of my lovely Easter eggs till the end. So there will be a lot, and they're going to be great. Um, Comes in, and, we talked about, I've waited to give you this information till you healed. I thought that was just a really smart way to do that. Even though it did make Ellie a little angry, I think that was a really, really great way to do that, saying, I knew this is how you would react. This is why I hid it from you. You're the only person that I've told. I loved that. I thought that was a great idea. Um, but continuing to push a little bit farther as Ellie's packing up and getting ready to go. Dina kind of bursts in, like like the smart one that Dina is, and says, "Hey, we're packing light, we're packing smart. Here is how this is gonna go," and is basically taking charge.
Mm.
Was so
Hmm.
Dina. And the way that she just elevates her to like a whole other step, fucking love it. Um, and I'm there's one thing I'm really concerned about. So she does, tell Ellie, you gotta lose the chucks, you gotta wear boots. We see her
She
later.
better not.
She is wearing boots. I really hope she did at least sneak in her chucks because those are really important to Ellie. Those are and us as gamers really important. So I hope that she didn't fully convince her to leave the chucks behind. Um, Anyway,
Let's
that's
hope.
really a part of Dina that's mostly Ellie, I guess. Um, but we see a little bit more. They encounter the scars, which I'm sure we'll have a little discussion about that later because they are important. She sees the dead bodies and goes and throws up by the cart. That's also what mirrors in the game because she gets sick from seeing a dead animal and a couple other bodies and gets sick and is like, oh, that's never happened before. It must have been the smell or something. And spoiler
Big
alert,
spoilers.
Dina is pregnant. And I was really glad that we are still getting that line because I think that is going to be really important for mirroring two different perspectives between Ellie's story and Abby's story. So that made me really happy to see just that little thing going, okay, whew, we're gonna get it because the time jump really worried me. Um, we're gonna go kind of towards the end where I have my negatives, my issues. So last week I talked about how I was upset that we didn't get Dina and Ellie, smoking weed and, having a really lovely intimate moment. I we my notes specifically said, "Oh, look, looks like we're getting the intimate moment." And then I responded to myself like 5 minutes later and I said, "Oh, never mind."
Mm.
Because they kind of did it, but they also didn't. So, we get what kind of happened in the games where she kind of asks, her little silly questions and what would you rate the kiss? It was kind of silly, kind of cute, like, "Oh, do you like me?" Um, and this is where I started to have my little breakdown of concern because in the games, this is specifically gamer perspective right now, is by the time we get to this point in the games, it's pretty well established that they are in a relationship. Dina calls her babe, like they have these moments where it's very well indicated that they are in somewhat of a relationship together. And to this point, we don't see that. We don't see that they are becoming more intimate with each other or getting more of a relationship that's currently a reflection of friendship, which from a non-gamer perspective, people have come in and said, well, they're going to do a slow burn, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I'm bringing it back with the whole slow burn thing. We don't have time for this. We don't
Hmm.
have time for their slow burn relationship because it's going to make it less impactful when she says, I'm pregnant. Don't worry, it's not yours. They haven't slept together yet, as far as we know on screen, or that is otherwise indicated. That's where I'm starting to have an issue with that whole slow burn comment as well. My last bit is when they created the games. Neil Druckmann had kind of written their relationship in not the best way, and I believe her name is Haley. The name of the writer escapes me, but basically went in to help Neil Druckmann flesh out a better queer relationship and story and write them better. I need to do some research myself and see if there were any, you know, femme writers involved in this scene because it felt like it was written by two straight men. Because I'm trying not to get like emotionally upset about this, when Dina says, like, oh, rate the kiss, and yeah, I went back with Jesse, and which is great because now we know that they have slept together, and that furthers, the pregnancy plot. But she kind of plays with, you're gay, I'm not, I'm just curious. Whereas that curious line goes two ways. One, I'm curious what you thought of the kiss. Second, I'm curious in my sexuality, which is not a problem. The biggest problem is the way that they portrayed it is her just being like this straight girl, just experimenting, seeing what it's like. And that kind of, um, from my perspective, by erasure, because Dina is bisexual in the games. And we kind of see her bisexuality a bit more, but the way that that particular scene was written kind of erases that part of her in a weird way, and it really gave me the ick. And I think that this doesn't have it's not my problem with Dina. I think this particular thing is, I think my issue is with Craig Mason, and with this particular adaptation of this scene. um and it really irked me the wrong way, to where I kind of just sat there like, did you really just say that? Like, it felt wrong. It didn't feel like they were gonna turn romantic in any way, and that kind of hurt me a little bit. So that's my whole thing with Dina, and I don't think the issue myself is with Dina. It's how they wrote her to be. If that particular line makes any sense, but
Mm,
that's where I'm at with Dina. I really love the character, and I hope that they fix that going forward in the next episode, because
mhm.
in the journals of Ellie, when you read them, Dina has been kind of pining for Ellie for a while. Ellie's had a crush for a while. They've had this kind of like almost like silent but not so silent, kind of like heart tugging pull to each other, which we're not getting as far as I can see from a gamer perspective.
Mm.
And I'll let you take the stage now.
I don't have anything to add, to be honest. For me, Dina is still like on the edge of like I either gonna love her here more
Mhm.
than I did in the game or not. I don't know. Uh, about that scene particularly, my only thing is how I viewed it is because she is not clear on what she wants yet. I think it was more of a I don't know how to say this, so I'm gonna downplay it. But since I do have friends from the queer community and whatnot. I don't know how these things works. I don't know how it is. Um, for
It's
me,
difficult.
yeah, it is difficult. I bet it is. And but for me, it was a very plausible explanation. That is that Tina just doesn't know yet herself either of what she wants. Uh, but again, I'm not relevant in that question. So Nick, do you have anything to add to Dina?
Well, I was gonna say I really liked Dina in this
Mm,
episode. She was one of the positives I do actually have because I feel like her character is really well adapted. She is likable.
mm,
I just never liked from the beginning that she was like, oh, I love Joel too. Like like she barely knows Joel in the game. So that was just a weird change up for me, and obviously was the reason that she was there
yeah.
for Joel's death and whatnot. But I like her character. I think Isabella's doing a phenomenal job with it. I think the
Mm,
adaptation is not necessarily like word for word, but she's bringing that same kind of energy of like this is a lovable character that's like a sidekick, but you want to be a main character. And it's like when she busts in while Eddie's packing up to leave. That's like exactly what she would have done in the game.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
little things like that that I really like.
Mm,
And her sort of obviously throwing up for the first time, I was like, yes, okay, so she is pregnant. She feels great. She feels like what is probably the most truest adaptation of any of the characters so far on the show. So I'm a big fan of Adina, and I think Isabella's doing a great job with her.
yeah, I agree.
No,
I
no,
will.
it's just
Yeah,
happy.
yeah. I will add one thing that is like related and unrelated as well. I would like to point out that this is how you do throw up scenes. Like, we don't have to see it. Like, you don't have to put it in our fucking face. You can do it like this. So fucking learn, because it's
Yes.
disgusting when you put it
Ugh.
right into our face. I fucking hate that. I turned off movies because of that. I turned off movies. When you have the
Yeah.
possibility, and you always have the possibility to imply but not show it in our face, fucking do it. I was
Yeah.
very happy about that. I was like, thank God I don't have to, like, the sound itself is enough for me, to be fair. It's very triggering for me, but it's better than to actually watch the entire thing like, ugh. No,
Yeah.
thank
I
you.
so agree with that.
I hate it so much. Like Katie, my dear Katie, now gives me warnings when we watch something in parallel, and if something like that happens, she gives me warning that,
Oh,
maybe you should be.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it is very helpful, because honestly, I will turn off your movie or TV show if you shove it in my face. That's it. So they did it very well here. So thank you, The Last of Us. Thank you. All right, and last but not least, our lovely Jessie. And I'm gonna start because I love Jessie very much. I love that we're getting more Jessie than we got in the game, because I always thought that Jessie deserves more.
Hmm.
And he's a great character. And he's the voice of reason, both in the game and here as well. That's already very clear. I'm still very sad about what's to come with Jesse. I'm not gonna lie.
Who knows?
No, they're not gonna change it. Come on,
Ah,
They
I
better
was.
not, because that was one of my
I,
favorite moments of the game, because major, 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 major spoilers. I'm gonna say it, so step away now. Most shows, most games are afraid to kill characters that you love, and the way that he just gets taken out was so quick, so violent that I screamed.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck?
this is
Just
a
like
Yeah.
freaky jump scare.
freaked out.
I
And
had to stop the game.
I I kept going though, because I was like, that's how you fucking do it. That is what you do.
I'm
You
not. I'm.
don't. Oh, one of my favorite deaths ever.
There's so
Yeah.
many theories about that scene as well. I love it. I love it. People talk about how Abby was aiming at Ellie and missed. And
I
like the
didn't
Yeah.
know
whole
that.
theory was that Jesse is just the wrong guy in the wrong place the
Yeah. Yeah.
entire
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
because he doesn't get to raise his own child. He doesn't know that he's having a
Yeah,
child. Then he gets killed before he finds like it's just oh
He's
it's
not living
so
Jesse's
his
good.
own
Jesse's
life.
death
So
just works so good.
someone else is living his life, basically.
Yeah,
So I'm.
so
But
they better give that
Ellie
to me, or I'm
Elliot's
gonna
rack jacked the hell
freak
out of
out.
him.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I really like Jesse here as well. I think.
Yeah.
I do have a theory. It's a thin theory,
Go
but I
on.
do think that Jesse's not gonna die.
Nah.
I do think that he because they hinted at in this episode quite a bit that Jesse's like becoming the new leader of Jackson kind of
Nah.
thing. And
I
there
think
was
that's
even
what's
a
gonna make his
moment
death hit
where
harder.
Yeah.
no, but there's a moment where like Tommy even hands over a hammer to him kind of thing. So what I think is gonna happen is that Tommy's gonna leave Jackson and there's gonna be a little bit of a scene where he says, Jesse, you have to stay here. It's very thin, but I think there's something to that. Why would they be hinting at Jesse being the leader of things? I don't know. I just that's what I think.
Misleading. Called misleading. And I look. I was waiting for this moment, but I now can grab this moment and say, I told you so with Joel as well, that they're not gonna fuck around and they're gonna kill him in episode 2. I
That's
was
true.
right. Jesse's
I
gonna die. I'm
He won
sorry.
the bet. He called it.
I hate this because I really like Jesse, but yeah, they're not gonna spare him. I think this is
For
the
the
nice little misleading moments that are aimed at very specifically for gamers who knows what's about to come and happen to him. He's dead. Is that they're not going to spare anyone. I don't think
Good.
they are that cowards, that kind of cowards.
Yeah,
They're
I
gonna
hope
kill.
you're not cowards.
They're not. They're not. They really
The
aren't.
the only thing I have to add is, oh, those biceps.
I know.
My goodness, have me blushing.
I was like, oh boy.
Like, oh my goodness, he young, okay.
Okay, that was
That's all I have to add. I
yeah.
love Josie.
We needed a little fangirling moment here.
We did.
Come on.
I'm blushing.
Understandable. Anyway, before we rate this episode, on if you could share the Easter eggs you found, that would be lovely. Please share it with us.
Yes, these are in no particular order. These are just how I thought of them or, how they happened in the show. The
Yes.
scars. Those guys are absolutely terrifying, and you will find out later. We are getting sympathy for them now, which is fine, but they are fucking mortifying. And that whistle from the games and here is how they communicate with each other because they do not use modern technology at all. So, you're welcome. You're going to have nightmares of their whistles from here on out. Welcome
Mm-hmm.
to the club. We have a couple more. So when Dina goes to talk to Ellie and gives her angry cookies, that is also a little bit of a nod to the conversation in the game between Tommy and Ellie, and he brings her food, I believe, from Maria. So I thought that was a cute little thing that now kind of Dina's bringing some food. Um, and then we've got a couple of things in the house when Ellie goes over to Joel's. First of all, that mailbox.
Mm.
That was really sad. Actually, you know what? Before we go into the house, the opening credits. Yeah, we're gonna go there. The opening credits changed slightly. There are two things that are missing. One, Pedro Pascal's name is not in there, which to some people may not be a surprise because, oh, he's not in the episodes, his name's not going to be there. In some contracts, one way or another, top build castings like that will stay through the whole season. I think they just wanted to really hit home that he was not going to be in this episode and is dead by removing his name from the credits of this episode, as well as near the end with the two figures that come up from the ground. Joel is no longer there. It is now just Ellie showing the single journey that she is going to go on. This is Ellie's story. So that I immediately started tearing up and getting really sad.
That's
I
nice
was
to know
glad I.
because I skipped.
What the?
Of course you did.
Oh, that's
I
right. You
always
do
skip.
that.
Oh,
That's right. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get angry. I'm kidding. I'm not.
Daisy.
But going into Joel's house, now that we're gonna just go, we're just gonna skip over the credits thing. Going into Joel's house, there are a couple of really fun things that we can see in there. So when she goes inside, we can see Joel's workbench and some carvings, which is something that Joel does. We've got a couple of really cool pictures and other images that are very reminiscent of Joel's house in the games. The owls, the ducks, the horses, very Western. He's over there carving an owl actively. And in the game, we can also see in Ellie's journal when she writes about an owl and has a couple of quote or lyrics from Future Days, as well as there's a mug in the game that also has an owl. So those little symbols are really nice to see. From there, we also see her go upstairs and find the red box, which is this is exactly how it is in the game. This red box that has his watch on top, this almost like a piece of jean layer. Ellie also picks up the watch and pushes it kind of to the side in the game, as well as she does here. Kind of looks at it a little bit, but moves it to the side because what she's really after is what's underneath that jean layer, which is his revolver, which is a very important piece of the game and probably my favorite weapon in the game
mhm.
because Dina's right, that thing is heavy and it packs a heavy kick. It's my favorite weapon in the game, so that was nice to have that
Mm.
exactly how it was in the
Mhm.
game. I was looking forward to that, seeing if they would change the color of the box, and they didn't, so that made me very happy.
Awesome souls. All right, let's read this episode.
Well, I am going to be the bummer, the buzzkill, and I'm going to give it a low rating. I'll start with that first. I'm going to give this week's episode a 5 out of 10.
Wow.
It is really low, and I think that honestly, half of this episode I would give like a 7 out of 10. But half of this episode is just, it feels pointless. It feels like it didn't need to be there. There's a lot of stuff that just is like the whole council scene and like the rebuilding and stuff of Jackson. I was like, am I just watching The Walking Dead again? It didn't feel like The Last of Us anymore. It felt like it was just another zombie TV show that had just survived a horde attack or something.
I mean, that's what
Um,
happened.
that's what happened, but that's not the story. We're here to see the story of Eddie, and it felt
We're
like
gonna.
she was not as much of a focus. No, but it's her story. It's not like a we need to see it. But I didn't feel that anger out of Ellie. I didn't feel the kind of the characters were doing the things that I feel they should have. I didn't like that Tommy didn't want to go after the wolves as well. So it just for me, it I understand sometimes you need like a quieter episode after a big tension-filled episode, but it can be quiet and still advance things and still have some kind of tension. This one just felt random and it kind of there were moments that I was like, did that need to be there? The whole character of Gail, for example, I'm like, did she really need to be in that episode at all? And yes, she did for the bottle episode, but not for this episode. It didn't serve this episode at all. So it was all over the place and muddled, and I just was not a fan, unfortunately. I hope it gets better next week.
So that actually reminded me of one last Easter egg that I found a couple minutes before we started recording. So I don't know what it was that you said that reminded me, but it did. Um, I had been looking through, I think it was threads or something like that, where somebody said the beginning part of them, building up Jackson again, it kind of looked like a commercial for like power tools. And I was like, oh, that's so funny. And I go back to finishing finding a couple of things for the episode, and it totally was like that shit is not a lie because as Tommy is taking, one of those hammers and putting the peg, in the ground is an Ace Hardware logo on a store behind him. They had fucking product placement
Brilliant.
directly in the
That's how
shelf.
Edwards. Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
know, but it just felt so weird after somebody pointed that out. I was like, they're rebuilding Jackson simply because of Ace Hardware.
Ace
Even though it's
Of
Hardware.
probably
course.
not the case, but like I was just like, that's so
It
even though
it
I
happens.
understand that's how product placement works, you need
It
those to also help funding, which I understand. I don't know why that got me giggling so much so randomly, but it did. I'm gonna have two ratings, one from my gamer perspective and one from if I was not playing the game.
mhm,
I will start from my gamer perspective because I do agree with Nick. I got to about halfway through the episode and I was like, we just barely got to the city council scene. I think they did themselves a disservice by elongating that by 30 some odd minutes. I think it could have had a greater impact if the grief and other things had been a little bit more condensed. Not in a way that makes it feel rushed, but more in a way that's like that we could progress the story even more within the episode. I did get bored a couple of times thinking, okay, like let's pick this up, let's get going. So from my gamer perspective, I was going to give it a 6 out of 10.
mhm.
However, from a non-gamer perspective and listening to people who have not played the games, felt very important that we have this kind of longer in between episode, and it felt good to have more of a grieving moment, seeing how people, reacted to Joel dying and the other people dying. Um, felt felt appropriate. And so for that, I'd probably give it more of like 7.5, 8 out of 10, because that perspective is just as important as us gamers, even if we have an issue with it. It's an adaptation, which I don't think I think adaptations are great as long as you don't lose the essence of a character for the sake of an adaptation, which is why I think also me and Nick are on the reserve about Tommy, because
Mhm.
we are still holding out hope that you don't lose the essence of the character for an adaptation. And I really greatly appreciate the friends who reach out to me that I specifically say, hey, I know that you don't play the games. Tell me what you think because that also shapes my experience and my understanding. Even though this episode, obviously, I was still pretty salty and agreeing with Nick on just about everything. I appreciate those perspectives a lot, and that's why my personal rating is low, but for the other side is a lot higher.
Fair enough. 7.5. There's still room to grow. I didn't have a problem with this episode. So yeah, 7.5. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I think greater things are ahead, and if they're gonna do what I think they're gonna do with Ellie and Tommy as well, this is gonna be fucking great, and it's gonna hit so fucking hard.
Ugh,
So I'm
the
definitely
preview
looking.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, no, it's okay. It's okay. No, I'm just looking forward to see what's to come. That's it.
The preview for next week's
Didn't
episode,
watch it.
I won't go into the details. I'll just say I think that will probably be my favorite episode of the series so far.
Let's hope so.
I think that's from what it looks like, I think it's gonna be.
Let's hope so. Let's go for it. All right, this was us, the rest of us crew, talking about season 2 of The Last of Us. We're going to be back next week and continue this conversation from there. And until then, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can catch up on other podcasts and other things that we do at CouchSoup. Go to couchsoup.com, read our articles. We write a lot, sometimes way too much. If you ask me, that's me. That I'm the one who's writing way too much. And yeah, just be engaged, stay in the loop, and we're going to see you next time. Until then, endure and survive.